Good day. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. It's Monday, April the 4th, and we've got a quick update with CEO Fred Dugre of H2o Innovations. H2o Innovation is a municipal and industrial provider of water purification products and services. And they just announced the renewal of its largest operations and maintenance service contract for $55 million over 4 years, and we have CEO Fred Dugre here to discuss it. Please remember, this is not investment advice. Fred, thanks a lot for joining us, and why don't you tell us an overview on the news release?
Yeah, thank you, Martin. This is a big news for us. I mean, we have been working for months on this renewal. In our business in the O&M world, I mean, renewing a contract is just like winning a new one. So I think it shows a lot in terms of services, the quality of the services we have been providing for years. The city of Gulfport has been a customer of H2o for slightly more than 10 years. I mean, we started the relationship back in 2011. So not only we're renewing today our existing contract and scope of work, but we are expanding the scope of work with additional responsibilities. And this is why you're seeing an increase into our annual contract to 13.9 million or so of values. And this will be for 4 years, initial terms. And renewable up to 12 years. So this makes it very appealing and exciting for all of us in terms of visibility, in terms of recurring sales, and all that.
With the it's at 13.9 million per year. What was the rough annual value of it prior to the renewal?
Let's say it was around the area between 8 to 10 million or so. So it's significant scope of work expansion as we speak.
Okay.
So this is why we're kind of very happy and excited about this.
In it, you mentioned, well, with the scope of work, you talk about solid waste and fleet management services. Can you explain what do you mean by those?
Yeah, for sure. So essentially, in the existing contract, let's say the base service work contract we have with the city is to provide operation and maintenance for different assets and utilities that exist. And we were using city's equipment, city's vehicle to perform the work. So when
your people would say, we've got to fix a pipe somewhere, and then you'd have to drive their cars.
Exactly.
Their trucks.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we're showing up in the morning when we get dispatched on a specific order to perform, let's say, this pipe repair, and going to the garage, to the city garage, and requesting a specific vehicle or truck or whatever, boom truck to perform the work. And when we were showing up, sometimes, the maintenance wasn't done on a timely manner on this specific vehicle. So for us, it was hard to perform the work because we had no control on how and when the maintenance was done on this fleet. So for years, we have been in discussion with the city to figure out how we could create a better alignment for us to be fully accountable to perform the work that the city is requesting us to do. So right now, from now on, starting today, we will be able to have a better control on it because it will be our people. I mean, the city's employees now are moving as H2o Innovation employees and will enable us to perform the work on a timely manner, but also related to the needs that we have with the various, demand and work orders that are coming in every day. So I think it will be a gain of efficiency for the city and for us, and as well a better accountability for us, to perform the work that has to be done.
Okay, so you're leasing the trucks at that point. You're maintaining the trucks, and so you guys say, okay, send this truck out to wherever to fix this or that.
Exactly. For this transaction only, I mean, we are buying now the existing fleet. So H2o bought back these assets,
okay,
and is going to lease it back to the city as part of our annual contract. So this is also quite interesting for us because then we're really entrenched with the city in terms of relationship. And again, because we have now a 12 years visibility on it, this is why we're so excited about it. I mean, not only we're buying these assets for a couple of years, but ultimately we'll be there for the next 12 years.
Yeah, you'd think once you're so entrenched, it's a real pain in the butt to switch suppliers at that point, as long as you're doing a good job. Okay. Exactly. And on the solid waste stuff?
Well, I mean, we already do ditch maintenance because as you may be aware, I mean, in the southern states, there's heavy rainfall events from time to time, and there's a tremendous amount of water then suddenly flooding an area. So they're using, these ditches along the road to evacuate the water. And sometimes, through this heavy rainfalls, there are, waste and solid waste being accumulated, debris that we need to remove from these ditches. So this is where the solid waste, comes from. We're already doing it as part of our scope of work, but right now we are expanding and adding more crew and more capabilities to this to further expand and do more ditch maintenance.
All right. On to in your Q2, you talked the O&M business typically has in the low to mid teens kind of EBAC margin, earnings before administrative costs. Is this project kind of in line with your historical margins?
Yes, absolutely. We should expect the same thing. And through the years, we should see an improvement, as I said, through the efficiency gain. But yes, expect the same thing.
All right. And your backlog, your O&M backlog is up to 131 million. I looked on your Q2, your O&M and WTS backlog was 126 million. So currently just one part of that is bigger than your prior backlog of the two parts. Is that right?
Exactly. So you should say, and we should see it in a way that right now the O&M backlog being 131 million, on top of which you're going to add the WTS backlog for the equipment that we already have. So this should bring us, north of 150-ish plus.
For those segments. And your O&M business in terms of a revenue basis, that's your biggest revenue portion of your business, right?
Right now, yes, absolutely. So
Okay.
it adds tremendous visibility in terms of recurring sales. I mean, the O&M itself is highly recurrent. So now being able to have, this large contract already secured with long-term contract is giving tremendous visibility in terms of revenue generation for the company.
All right. You mentioned in the contract, and this is big in the headlines right now about an inflation adjusted and so forth. There's a lot of talk about labor rates rising in the US and everywhere. So you're hedged against that in your contract. Can you talk about the inflation issues for the business?
Yeah, our contract has CPI adjustment provision into it on an annual basis. So we do have some limitation and the exposure is somehow limited. And the beauty of the overall operation and maintenance, because it's highly labor intensive, we don't have the same kind of volatility exposure than we have on other related, equipment, for example, because it's labor intensive only. So it's not as volatile as it is, for the material, for example.
Okay. All right. I think those are the highlights. Are there any other points we didn't sort of hit on that we should make a note of?
No, I think it's pretty good. I mean, overall, this contract in itself, in terms of public work, doing operation and maintenance, is probably among the top 3 or top 4 largest operation and maintenance contract in the country, in the United States. So this is quite significant for us. I think, and what I hope is that we should see that, replicate maybe elsewhere in the coast and in other strategic locations. So I think it's a really big strategic step forward for H2o Innovation.
Right. And March 31st was the end of your Q3, correct? And then so by mid-May, especially now that you're on the TSX, we're going to see your Q3 results come out at some point by then, right?
That's it.
Right.
Mid-May will be the Q3 conference call.
All right. Fred, thanks a lot for chatting. That was very informative.
All right. Thank you, Martin. Talk to you soon.
Cheers.